officially, welcome to podcast, Nour Jarrar.
Thank you.
We have to do a cheers, traditional.
Okay.
What are you having, sage?
Sage.
Yeah,
Cliché.
in keeping with self-development, which is what we're going to talk about today.
Exactly.
I actually always thought that if I'm ever going to have you on the podcast, our episode would be about Fibbage. Just because for anybody that hasn't played Fibbage, me and Nour are fierce competitors. But Nour is world class, so I thought we would talk about Fibbage. And,
Thank you. I never thought you were going to admit that.
you know, I think you're doing here. So for anybody watching and listening, we're doing this topic. Today's episode is about Neurolinguistic Programming, which is known as NLP.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I had is, how much NLP are you doing to me? How much
During Fibbage.
during Fibbage, how much neurolinguistic programming are you doing to yourself or to me in order to win every time? So, but yeah, I mean, we'll leave it for
Yeah.
later on in the episode.
Yeah.
Now, to start off with a proper introduction, because I think one of the things I wanted to do is give a little bit of context about why we're talking about NLP today and why we have you on the show. You recently got your certificate in NLP.
Yeah. But I think what I mentioned before is I think I want the episode to be more about self-mastery. Because I've done several courses before, in addition to NLP, that are all in the same category, self-mastery.
Right.
So we're going to be discussing a lot of NLP and some knowledge from the other courses that I've done.
Perfect, which is exactly like one of the things I've been exploring on the podcast, and I've had a couple of guests on to discuss how you can master yourself through the different modalities. I've had on episode 5, Tariq Musar, we spoke about spiritual, shamanic modalities. I've had executive coach and ex-McKinsey. So super excited to hear your perspective on the topic, to understand what is your approach towards self-mastery, how you have been approaching it personally and professionally, and how specifically neurolinguistic programming, NLP, is helping you in that journey personally and professionally. Can we start with NLP specifically, or you want to?
Of course, yeah.
So what is NLP? What is the actual correct definition for neurolinguistic programming, and what are the common misconceptions that you come across that people seem to have about NLP?
Actually, what I realized is not a lot of people know about NLP. So there's no misconception. There's no awareness around it. Okay, let's begin with that. Because people that know NLP. Otherwise, they don't even know it.
Interesting.
And NLP, as you said, stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. There's so many different definitions to NLP. And if you Google it, you find some complicated definitions. But the way I like to define it, because also NLP teaches you that everything is perception, okay? Nothing is the same for two people. So the way I like to define NLP, self-mastery, 2 words.
Wow.
And it's about how to master your mind, how to master your thought process, how to master and create the right mindset, and how to harness and build a healthy relationship between the mind and the body. That's what NLP is.
Okay. One thing that, well, we're going to get into the details throughout over the next hour. But one of the things that I remember having, so I watched a very short video on YouTube about what NLP is.
Yeah.
And it spoke about how it's a tool that helps you change the perspective that you might have for yourself towards a certain thing, but it also allows you to change the perspective of those around you so that you can get them directed on the same path. That sounded to me like a very powerful tool. Like if I can get myself even better, the people around me all on the same target that I'm heading towards, it almost sounded a little bit manipulative. Like it can get so powerful, let's say, that some people could use it in a way for it to become like Steve Jobs was one example they gave. So I guess let's get into the details of what NLP is. So can you give me an example of what is a good example of how NLP can actually be utilized?
Yeah. Okay, I think you touched on something that's actually important, that people can use NLP to manipulate others. Okay, I don't think people can use it to manipulate others, but people actually use it, and we're not aware that they're using it. Some of the biggest corporations in the world that use NLP are advertising agencies. And we don't even realize that. But they use NLP so much in advertising. I'll give you an example. there's one technique in NLP, it's called anchoring. Anchoring says that when a person is at a peak of a mental state or emotional state, when you're at the peak of that state, and a physical or a visual stimulus is triggered, these two get connected neurologically. Okay? So this is anchoring in NLP. And advertising agencies use that all the time. I'll give you an example. A McDonald's ad, let's say a TV ad, a commercial. They do a build-up. They show you the vegetables, they show you the meat, they show you the burger. And even your emotional state is being built up. And then at the peak of that emotional state, when they actually show you the mouth-watering burger, and you're at the peak of that emotional state, you're like, oh my God, I want it now. They show you the logo. So instantly, that emotional state gets linked to the logo. So that every other time you see McDonald's logo, you get back into that emotional state. I want it now. I'm craving it.
It's like an association, basically, of the feeling and the visual that you've seen.
Yeah.
So NLP is not just the language, the words, it's also like the association with images and...
NLP can be done in 3 different ways.
Okay.
Visual, verbal, as in with language, and so like we say, visual, auditory, and kinesthetic.
Okay.
So it can be a visual, used in a visual way. It can be used auditory with language, and it can be kinesthetic. You actually experience the thing yourself with touch, with feeling the thing. So, yeah.
So let's talk from the perspective of self-development, because I think this is the overarching theme, right? Like if I'm somebody that's your average human being, I have my own struggles. I want to master myself, I guess, in order to get through those adversities and struggles, whatever they might be. Let's take any example that you consider to be a good example to illustrate how NLP can be used.
Let me begin by saying that before you get to the techniques of NLP, there's a lot of scientific knowledge.
Yeah.
Okay? And you cannot just jump into the techniques without going through the knowledge first. There's a lot of scientific knowledge in NLP about the mind, how it works, how it functions, the subconscious mind, characteristics of it, how you can utilize it, how it works, about thinking, the thought process, how you can master it, how you can take control of it, about language and the use of words and their effect on the body. So yeah, that can be summarized. The connection between the mind and the body. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of knowledge about the nervous system. So many different things. So before you get to the techniques, you need to understand first the scientific knowledge behind it.
طيب. So if you want to tell us a little bit about the broader science around it. So I understand the connection between those things. Is there a way we can illustrate it in an example? Like how you can...
I think, Anna, I wanted to divide today's episode into different categories, discuss the theory behind them, the knowledge, and then I'll give you an example of both, of each, and ways how you can use NLP in each of these different categories.
I love it. Let's go ahead.
Okay.
You are officially the first guest I have with notes. So this is totally, I love it, by the way. You need to understand this is taking a lot of the load off of me to have to carry on a conversation on a topic I don't know shit about, basically. Yeah. So I'm glad that you have the right structure. So go ahead. Take it away.
I'll tell you why I have notes.
Yeah.
I've never done this before, obviously.
Yeah.
Never. And I didn't want to prepare what I wanted to say specifically.
Right.
But when I was thinking about it, like, what am I going to say on today's
podcast?
So many different topics came to mind. And I thought that they were so important that I didn't want to miss out on.
Yeah.
So I just wrote out the general topics that I want to talk about.
Perfect.
Just because I think to have a beneficial episode, I think it's good to discuss these things.
Fair enough. I mean, one of the things you said for anybody listening and watching, you didn't want this to be specifically about NLP, because I think it would be divided from the overarching theme that you want to cover, because you've also explored all those other modalities as well, right?
NLP is going to be one of the main topics we're going to be discussing today.
Yeah.
But I think the broader topic is self-mastery and self-development. And I like to call it the healing journey. Not healing something specific, but in general, us as human beings go through a lot in our lives, day-to-day lives. And it could be small things. And to grow and to develop, you need to heal and then grow from there. So that you grow from a good foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So let's begin by talking about thoughts and language.
Yeah.
These two are going to be tied in together. So let me begin by saying thoughts are the language of the mind, just like feelings are the language of the body. The mind does not exist without thoughts. So let's get that clear, okay? Thoughts, the mind does not exist without thoughts. But what we tend to do as human beings is we tend to let our thoughts and our mind control us.
Right.
Okay? Because we think unconsciously at an unconscious level. So our mind and our thoughts control us, and they drive us, and they take us in so many different directions, and we let it happen. Why? Because we don't know that we are not our thoughts. We are not our mind. We need to be in control of our thoughts, and we need to be in control of our mind. So how do we do that? The only way we can do that is by taking the seat of consciousness, being mindful, being present, being aware.
Right.
So fall behind the noise, go behind all the chatter of the mind, take the seat of consciousness, and only then can you control your thoughts and your mind.
So is the idea to separate yourself, your identity, from the thoughts that you're having?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you said, so you said two things. You said that we are, if you don't think, we don't exist, right? So that's probably the reason why we are unable naturally to separate ourselves from our thoughts, because our existence is in us having minds and thoughts. But then when that happens, our identities and our egos and everything else gets attached to those thoughts, because that's the default process, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. But then you said something so important. We tie our existence to our thoughts, which brings me to a very important point in NLP, which is your thoughts create your reality. Okay? But when we define ourselves by our thoughts and we associate ourselves by our thoughts, what are we doing here? Our thoughts are random. When we think at an unconscious level, when we let the mind and the thoughts control us, then we are letting our thoughts define our existence or define us as human beings or define our reality. So why don't we do it the other way around?
So define your thoughts first, and then
Define your thoughts to build the reality that you want.
right.
So that's the P in NLP, programming.
Oh, I see what you mean. So
Okay.
it's like think about it as a circle or like a cycle of one thing feeds into another. You're saying normally as people, we let our reality create thoughts, and these thoughts create us almost.
No, we
Normally.
let our thoughts create our reality.
Right.
We don't take control of the thought process.
Right.
So we let our random thoughts, the mind's chatter, create our reality.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be this way.
Okay.
It has to be the other way around.
Which is?
You choose the reality that you want, choose the reality that you want to attain, okay? And work backwards from there.
So when you
Choose the right thoughts that will help you achieve that reality.
So when you say achieve your own reality, you mean actually go and get something done in real life, or create a version of reality in your head, in your perspective?
No. I mean in real life. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
People that don't know that they need to think consciously and they need to choose the right thoughts and the right words when they're thinking internally, their internal conversations, they sometimes choose negative thoughts. Or not choose, actually. the mind is almost always, it tends to be more negative, on the
True.
negative side,
Yeah,
right?
as humans, yes.
Exactly. So we tend to say, I'm tired, I'm stressed, oh my God, I'm always stressed, I'm always tired. I stress easily, oh my God, I'm so busy, my work is stressful. Guess what? These thoughts are creating your reality. These will become your reality. If you think, my body is weak, I'm unhealthy, these thoughts will create your reality. You will become unhealthy, you will become stressed, you will become negative. Okay? So when I say pick the right words, think consciously, okay, to build your reality. What is it that you want to achieve in life? You want to achieve health. You want to achieve success. You want to be physically strong, mentally strong, emotionally strong. I'm going to repeat it, healthy, wealthy, successful.
Right.
Okay? This is the reality that you want. Work backwards from there. Keep repeating to yourself every single day, I'm healthy. I'm successful. I'm calm. I'm relaxed. I'm strong, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Keep saying it. Keep believing it, and it will become your reality.
So even somebody that's not feeling exactly like that at some point when their default perception of their life.
Absolutely.
So that's interesting. That's a little bit of so let's say I'm somebody that day in, day out, I feel poor, I feel weak, I feel miserable. And right when I'm feeling those feelings, I should just, how does it work? Do I say them in my head? Do I say them out loud? Like, I'm actually curious about the technique a little bit here. Is it something that I gotta do even if it seems like I don't believe that I am, but I say it anyway and eventually it becomes that? That's what, those,
Okay.
yeah.
Actually, the days when you feel weak and all these negative things, these are the days when you need to do this the most.
Okay.
Okay? But don't say it without believing it. No, that
Okay.
won't work.
Yeah.
Okay? But say it and believe it, and your body will believe it. Because let me tell you a fact. Your cells are listening. Did you know that? Every single cell in your body is listening to you. Your internal conversations or your external. They're listening to you. And every single thought creates a biochemical reaction. That's a fact.
Yeah.
Okay? So when you think negative thoughts, it's creating a biochemical reaction and it's building your reality. As in, your cells listen, they act accordingly. You say, I'm stressed, immediately delete, reject. Sorry, okay. You'll
okay.
not understand what that is, but in NLP, they say when you say something and you don't want your subconscious mind to take it,
Yeah.
you say delete, reject.
Yeah.
And then,
Is this what we're doing right now or for the podcast? I mean, for the clip?
no, don't delete it from the podcast. I'm just saying
I
it.
see. I see what you mean. You mean like
Internally.
Okay. So when you want,
Because I don't like to say negative words anymore. I used to. Obviously, I'm a human being. I used to, but after NLP, I don't like to say negative words. So now I'm telling you, when you say I'm stressed, I'm I'm tired, immediately your brain releases what? Your cells listen. Your brain transmits a signal to all the brain neurons, transmits a message to every cell in your body that you're stressed and you're tired. And what happens in return? Immediately, a biochemical reaction. Your brain releases the stress hormone, cortisol.
which is like, it goes to your butt, to your abdomen, you get fat.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Your thoughts create a biochemical reaction. So now that you know that, why would you say a negative thought? Reframe it. Say something positive. Even if you don't feel it that way, if you're feeling tired, don't say I'm feeling tired.
Yeah.
Say I'm feeling calm, I'm feeling relaxed. What's happening? Your brain will believe it, and your brain, your cells listen, they will act accordingly, and your brain will do what? It will release happy hormones.
Yeah. So I think it sounds a little bit, it reminds me of the law of attraction a little bit, because the law of attraction, I know, is a little bit, they lead to the same outcome, I think, even though the process that explains how it happens, I think the law of attraction is a little bit woo-woo. Because it doesn't explain that this is, well, actually that's not fair. I read a little bit about it, and I think part of how the law of attraction works is that it does create those neuroplasticities in your brain, and it then leads to your reality. So I guess my first question is, perhaps you've been exploring the law of attraction as well. Are they similar to NLP?
I actually wrote it down because I wanted to mention it.
So they sound very similar. Are they different, or how are they
I'll
different?
tell you what.
Yeah.
I'll tell you how they're different.
Yeah.
And then I'll get to how they're connected.
Yes.
But I'll tell you how they're different
Yeah.
first. The law of attraction, okay, doesn't have to happen now. The law of attraction says if you put something out there in the world, you will attract it. It could happen in a month, in a year, in 10 years, in 20 years, okay? There's no time frame to when this might happen. However, with NLP and what I just mentioned, choosing the right words, choosing the right thoughts, planting positive seeds in your mind, this, you feel the effect of it now, in this second, tomorrow, in a month, and then when it becomes a habit, you will feel it every single day. Okay, so you might be skeptical of this. I can see that you might be a bit skeptical of when I said even if you're not feeling it, say it. But I just explained to you that scientifically, every thought has a biochemical reaction.
Yeah.
So when you're thinking positive, what happens? Even if you're not feeling it,
I actually think I'm scared.
you are creating it.
100%. I think
know?
I'm a little bit scared of it. I'm not skeptical of it because I think it can work so well that it might take me as somebody who likes to control. Like I'm typically a controlling person in my own nature, on myself, first and foremost. And I'm worried that if I create a narrative, no, because it's dangerous.
No, oh my God, I'm laughing because when I was taking the NLP course, that's exactly what I said.
Imagine I manipulate myself into thinking life is great, I'm healthy, I'm rich, everything's fine, And I say this to myself, but and I could talk, I can get crafty. I can get myself to get away with my bad habits potentially because, I can keep.
Absolutely.
So how do you, how does somebody not bullshit themselves basically?
Yes, and I swear I laughed because I said the same thing when I was taking the course.
It seems very strong.
I used to love to be a control freak.
Yeah.
Now I learned to surrender to the process of life. And obviously, I'm not saying that I reached
self-mastery, full self-mastery. Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm still on my own journey.
Sure, yeah.
And it's a journey, it's not a destination. We'll get to that later. But I used to love to control myself.
Sure.
My life, personally. Organize my day to the dot. So yeah, when we got to that part, I said, oh my God, but what if I've used that technique before to build wrong habits or to create a reality that I don't want to create? Yeah? Well, guess what? It's never too late to create a new reality. It's never too late to create new habits.
So using the same tool, basically?
Exactly. So maybe before I used to always say, oh, I'm so stressed. I'm having a stressful day. Maybe that created a reality for me. Maybe that created that stressful work environment for me. Maybe. Yeah. But then, so I was actually like scared back then. I'm like, oh my God, what if I've created so many different negative things for myself? Well, it's never too late to create the positives.
I see.
Okay. Now that you know, use it to your advantage. Leverage it. Plant positive seeds every single day. And trust me, it might take time to actually feel them happening, but they will happen. And when I took the course, NLP, and I started doing it, I didn't feel it the first week. I didn't feel it the second week. But, and then I even lost track of me tracking the development or the trying to see the shift. But then all of a sudden, one morning, I woke up and I'm like, I'm so positive. Actually, I feel so healthy. I feel so physically strong, so emotionally strong, and mentally strong. And I'm like, it happened.
I think this is the reason why. So let me just, because I have two perspectives on what you're saying. One is we all could use a little bit of this positive affirmation to keep us on track, to give us the confidence that we sometimes lack. For all intents and purposes, having a positive narrative about our lives, about our perspectives, I think is priceless and important, and we don't do enough of it in most cases. Equally as dangerous is when we develop confirmation bias, is when we can tell ourselves something that we believe makes us feel good and potentially leaves out other things that we should be focusing on that are not comfortable to think about, that require a bit of self-critical assessment. So it might not seem positive, but it's actually necessary in order to solve problems. And so how
I
can you
see what
balance
you mean.
what I'm trying to say?
No. This is very different. I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Okay. When I say think positive and pick the right words,
Yeah.
I'm not saying push away things that you need to face and deal with.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. But when I say pick the right words, as in it becomes a habit later, but you have to do it consciously for a while. But when you're having like a long day, don't go back home and say, oh my God, I'm having a stressful day, and talk negatively. Pick the right words. Okay? So say, oh my God, today was long, but I've achieved a lot.
Wow.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying wake up and say, I'm healthy, I'm successful, like all the time. No, okay, yeah. Sometimes I do that, okay? I love to do that when I'm meditating. I love to like add these, not affirmations, but like things that I would love to achieve and things that I would love to attain in my life. But when I say pick the right words, I'm saying every day,
Yeah.
every moment of your day. When you're talking to your friends, when you're talking to your colleagues, and in your internal thoughts, pick the right words.
Yeah.
So sometimes I would say like, oh, I'm so tired. I don't say that anymore. I say, I need to rest. Okay? It's just a different way of saying it.
Interesting. So you change it from describing a state that you could associate with yourself in a negative connotation
Exactly.
with a thing that you got to do as part of your hibernation process.
Exactly.
Wow.
Just making very small shifts to your everyday language, internal conversations or external, very small changes that make a very big difference.
And the idea is that if you continue to be, I guess, is it safe to assume that you are always, as somebody who is trying to follow an NLP modality towards your life, you're always trying to associate yourself with positive or not negative, the opposite of negative, basically.
Positive.
Or it can be neutral, right? I need to rest is
Yeah.
not positive or negative. I need to
Exactly.
rest. I need to rest. I need to rest.
Exactly.
Not positive, it's not negative.
You're acknowledging
Yeah.
that your body is feeling a certain way.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging it.
Yeah.
Okay? You're not denying it.
Yeah.
You're feeling it. You acknowledge it, but without using negative words.
Type. So this is resonating very well with me for two reasons. I personally am somebody who really buys into things where it doesn't have to be so woo-woo, like too spiritual, a little bit into seventh plane. And, there have been different modalities for self-help that I personally have not found them too convincing, but they work very well for those who do find them convincing. And I even found them convincing to the extent that I approached them with an open mind, but I eventually found them to be a little bit not too logical. This one I like because it's about actually creating a narrative that is convincing about your life, about your situation, that allows you to approach it in a positive way. So this is something very logical.
And very easy to do.
And I get what you're saying about the fact that it's easy. It's just changing the words, changing the context. And this thing that you say about your cells listen to you.
Yeah.
This neuroplasticity that happens in your brain as a human being when you have positive thoughts or negative thoughts is all science, right? Like you can look at an MRI scan of a brain and the activity that happens. So far, so good. How does a person, like anybody in the world, no matter at which stage they are in their lives, approach self-mastery using NLP as a driving modality? Look, what would be the first step? Do you, do you read a book and get in deeper into it? Is it better to start with an expert, like with therapy? Do you go and do what's the right way to dive deep into how NLP can lead self-mastery in your life?
There's so many workshops on NLP, for NLP. I personally, me and my sister, we did an extensive NLP course with an NLP expert. Love her. Dr. Afshin. I hope she'll watch this.
Share the link with her.
Yeah, for sure. So we've done an extensive course with her in person over almost a month. But I know there's so many online courses.
Sorry, the course you were doing, was it for you to learn about NLP for yourself personally, or were you doing the course to become a professional practitioner and service provider, like a coach, I guess?
Yeah. So the course, actually, by the end of it, you get a certificate. You become an actual NLP practitioner, a coach. However, we've done the course for our personal self-development and growth.
Yeah.
But we are practitioners now.
Okay.
But we did the course for our own personal growth and self-development and for our own healing journey.
Right.
Okay. But there's so many different workshops. There's so many different online courses for NLP. I recommend you do the course, obviously, with Dr. Afshin. But if the time, if you're short on time, or if you want to do it in specific hours, maybe in the evening or on the weekends or stuff like that, there's so many courses online and in Dubai and anywhere around the world. So,
but to get the most benefits out of NLP, is it like meditation where it's very straightforward? You know, you mentioned it's easy earlier. How easy is it for a person to make the most out of NLP? Is it as simple as teaching them how to breathe and be mindful with their thoughts, like meditation is, or basic meditation, let's say? Or is it the kind of thing where like you really get the most out of it if you dive very deep into it and you start to utilizing it throughout your entire day as well?
Okay, I'll tell you. So NLP, as I said, there's the knowledge part. And then NLP teaches you so many different techniques to achieve different desired objectives. So many different techniques. You personally can choose one or two of these techniques only and gain huge benefits out of them. You can use all the techniques. You can use only one. You can use only the scientific knowledge. You can pick and choose what works for you. Okay? So it differs from one person to the other. For me, personally, language, I use it every single day and it's so easy. As I said, it's easy to make these shifts in the choice of words, these shifts in the thoughts process and in your thinking. Very easy. Every single day. As I said, the only way to do it is from the seat of consciousness. You need to be conscious to do it. How? When you're not conscious, thoughts are just happening in the background. You don't control them.
Yeah.
They're just happening and they, as I said, drive you.
And create your reality.
But when you're conscious and you are listening to these thoughts, what do? You immediately stop the negative ones. Okay. You reframe them. You choose positive words. And in the beginning, you have to consciously do it, but then it becomes a habit and you're doing it at an unconscious level, at a subconscious level.
I see. To what extent are you doing it to the people? Because as I understand, you can use it for yourself and you can also spell out these narratives and words to maybe influence positively those around you. Maybe it's your colleague, maybe it's your husband, maybe it's your sister. Do you find yourself as Nour today realizing the benefits of this approach, also helping others around you that don't know that what you're doing? Like you might not tell that person, I'm going to say a few things right now, it's going to help you because it's NLP based. You might just do it and they don't even know about it, but then you notice that the benefits are happening, right? These people you might be influencing them in a positive way. Is that what's happening?
I would say it definitely does happen. When I see, like, for example, one of my friends or my sister or a family member telling me about something negative that they're going through, I try to give them a different meaning to what's happening, a different perspective. And even the negative experiences, there's always a way to reframe them, to befriend them, to learn from them. So just by pointing it out to the person, you don't need to do the work for them. You can just point it out and trust me, their subconscious mind will do the rest.
Yeah. It's a powerful tool. It's the use of words, just changing the perspective that you can describe using words, because words is what we know as human beings to create meaning out of anything, maps of meaning, right? Just a change of a sentence can be enough to totally change the perspective that you have on your life, almost in a bipolar way. Like sometimes I felt I was myself bipolar. Maybe I am, I don't know. No, but because honestly, the difference, even Georgia.
Let me just stop you here with NLP.
Yeah.
Never define yourself or put a label on yourself.
Yeah.
Because you tend to get caught up in it, and it also becomes your reality.
So I'm gonna do this thing you said: undo,
reject,
reverse,
delete,
reject, delete. I'm not bipolar. Reject, delete. No, I shouldn't say the word.
No, yeah, exactly. I was gonna say. It's okay to experience different things.
Yeah, no, I mean,
It's okay. No. I'm saying,
yeah.
like, why would you say, like, for example, you're bipolar? Why would you think that? Because you go through different states of mind. It's okay to go through different states of mind.
Yeah.
Embrace the different states of minds. Don't reject them. It's fine, you know?
So it felt sometimes these states of mind felt so extreme that I don't even know what bipolar really technically like in a clinical way what the definition is. For me, I don't even like. I'm saying perhaps I am. I don't know, but I'm just saying it. I guess what I was trying to say is the change of perspective, which is just the sentence that I use to describe how I feel about a certain thing, my job, my podcast, my partner, my country, my friends. I can go from extremely positive to extremely negative just by changing. Nothing else changed.
Yeah.
The reality is the same. Life is the same. Nothing's changed. And I suddenly go from completely depressed and miserable to ecstatic and joyful. And all I changed was maybe I worked out that morning, maybe I ate well. Like, so it's not just a matter of changing the sentence.
Yeah.
But also it does change a little bit the reality and the perspective towards that thing that you initially thought you hated or you disliked or you wanted to change. And suddenly, like, I love it. It doesn't get any better than that. Like, that's what I mean. Like bipolar, it feels like very extreme, you know?
Yeah.
But sometimes it's just changing the perspective and the words that you use, as you were saying, in order to create that reality based on our thoughts and having control of them consciously, as you were saying earlier.
And so let me comment on what you just said.
Okay.
That you sometimes feel different emotions toward the same thing. This might not be directly NLP. This is from one of my favorite books, The Untethered Soul. Michael Singer in The Untethered Soul says that it's okay to feel different emotions. Okay? It's okay to feel even different emotions towards the same thing. This is the human nature. Okay? All these different emotions are natural. But sometimes we judge them. We resist them, and that's why we suffer. Okay? When we're feeling, when you're not feeling great, and see here, that's NLP.
Yeah.
I didn't say when you're feeling bad. I said when you're not feeling great.
Right.
Just choose your words. Choose your words wisely on a regular basis. Sorry, I
but that makes sense.
I didn't mean to disconnect, but that was just an example, and I wanted to point it out because you said, like, how do you like keep choosing positive words?
No, but that's exactly what the details of the process of creating a narrative is what I'm trying to really capture, and I think I'm trying to get it right now, which is basically rephrase what would normally be a negative description or adjective into a neutral, non-positive.
Exactly.
So rather than saying I'm feeling like shit, you say I'm not feeling great. Rather than saying I don't know, maybe like I'm feeling lonely, you might say you know, I don't know, how does one, for example, like maybe this is totally like me improvising right now. What would be the right NLP approach to somebody who's feeling lonely, like somebody who feels like they're alone, for example, or they're I mean, that's a good description of some of the negative emotions. What would be we can remove?
You can, for example, say that I feel like being around people today.
Yeah, interesting.
Okay? Yeah. I feel like being with my family and friends.
Interesting. And then you actually go and do something about it. You give them a call, you go out for a drink, whatever it is, right?
Yeah. Exactly. And we'll also get to that a bit later about, I'll give you a quick fix to different states of mind. We'll get to that later. But just to go back to the main point that I was saying. So we feel different emotions and it's fine. Only when we resist them, it's when we suffer. Okay. So sometimes it's fine to feel angry. Sometimes it's fine to feel these different, maybe different emotions. It's fine to feel them. It's human nature.
Yeah.
Don't judge them, or don't judge yourself when you're feeling them. Do something about them, okay? Physically, or I'll get to it now.
No, but
act on it, whether physically, I'll tell you how you can do it physically now, or act on it with reframing the situation, or reframing the whatever is happening with you, or with pumping yourself up with the right choice of words.
طيب.
But do not, you don't need to judge yourself when you're feeling them, or you do not need to feel bad about them. Feel bad. Yeah. It's okay, feel them. They're normal and natural human emotions.
Right, yeah.
You can never say, I never want to be angry. Or me, for example, when I'm doing NLP, I cannot say that, oh, from this moment onwards, I'm never going to feel sad. I'm never going to feel...
It's unnatural.
Absolutely not. You know, it's
So-
unnatural. But when I'm feeling them, I respect these feelings. I respect these emotions. I do not resist them.
Yeah.
Okay. I do something about them, whether physically or with my choice of words. But sometimes they don't just go away or disappear.
Yeah.
Sometimes they linger around. And what I started doing is respecting them. It's okay to feel this way.
طيب, this is a question that might be a little bit, neither I have an answer for it potentially, maybe you don't either, but I'm going to ask it anyway. One of the things that sounds like a consistent part of approaching NLP is to frame any situation and how you feel about it in a context that is not using a negative description or adjective, and instead is framed as a way of, what can I do about my situation right now in order to deal with this? So, for example, the lonely example, maybe I should see some friends, or I'm feeling tired, maybe I should get some rest. Like the maybe I get rest part is more neutral. Maybe I should
Exactly.
see, So I like that because it creates an element of you're in control of your situation. If you're feeling in a certain way, do something about it. It almost emphasizes how much control we should have or we can have over our circumstances.
Absolutely.
So what does somebody who does not have, like, because life is not as great as it might seem, like, you know, professionally, personally, like you might not really be able to, like, what do you do when you don't know what you can do about your life? Whatever it might be, the situation you're going through, you're feeling negative. You're unable to even use the words to create a positive, I'm going to do this instead. It's not even realistic. Like for some people they don't even know where to start. Like they might just not have the knowledge for it, or haven't had enough conversations maybe, or explored enough the solution. So is it critical to first have a solution, a theoretical solution to a problem you're having, in order for you to be convinced in the narrative that you give yourself?
For a thought to have a positive effect, you need to believe it.
So you need to have a plan.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You need to believe it.
Yeah.
If you do not believe it, it will not work.
Okay.
Okay. So, but what I say is, when someone is, as you said, stuck in a negative state, or someone is stuck, someone is depressed.
Yeah.
Someone is sad and stuck in it and doesn't know what to do.
Doesn't know what to do. That's the key.
What are you doing about it? People want change, but they don't do anything about it. They don't put in the work. And they expect change to happen magically.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, guess what? It doesn't. Yeah.
So what we do as people sometimes is that we
Do something about it.
Yeah, we self-loathe, we say we feel like shit and so on, and we just find ourselves digging a deeper hole, basically,
Exactly.
right? Yeah.
Exactly. So these people tend to be living in a victim mentality. They just complain, or they don't complain. They're dealing with it by themselves. Maybe even no one knows that they're going through this. They're dealing with it internally, peacefully, gracefully, and but they're stuck in it. They say, like, why is this happening to me? Why are negative things happening to me? Why do bad things keep happening to me?
Right.
You know, and they get stuck in that loophole.
Yeah.
But what
It becomes
are you
a self-fulfilling prophecy as well, right?
exactly?
Yeah.
What are they doing about it? What are you doing about it? They're not doing anything, and they're expecting change to happen.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
Definition
You
of
need to-
insanity.
Yeah. No, I mean, I can't blame someone for not knowing that they can do something about it.
Right.
And I don't want to underestimate or belittle any mental problem or mental issue. Absolutely not, by the way. Mental issues exist, and they're real, and they're tough.
The idea is, what you're trying to say is that people should, not, if they are going through anything, and
Do something about it.
do something about it. Like
Do something about it.
There's got to
You
be.
can, because you can, and there is
Yeah.
a way out.
I mean, maybe
There's always a way out.
you might not be able to fundamentally solve the problem that you're in, but you can try to improve it a little bit from where it is today, and that.
No, you can solve it.
I mean, I'm just saying some people.
No.
might,
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
If you put in the work and you commit to the journey, you can solve it.
Yeah.
And I mean, okay, you might not agree.
No, I mean,
But-
some problems. Most problems can be solved, but I guess a lot of people live in worlds where the problems that they're dealing with, they're not free enough to act on them, right? Like, so I'm talking about some extreme examples of people who are like really screwed up in life. Like they've been thrown a very bad hand cards in
Yeah.
life, and so it's. I mean, yeah, I guess
I mean, if Tony
People-
Robbins got over what he went through, people can take that to their advantage and use it to their advantage.
yeah, he was homeless. I think. Oh, he had an
I mean,
abusive
he-
abusive parents.
parents.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
was homeless. He had to. I mean, you can. There
Yeah.
is a way out.
I guess.
And
so.
when I say there is a way out, it's you can never say that a person is stuck in a specific state of mind or in a specific emotional state. Absolutely not.
Yeah,
It might take years to get out of it. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. Yeah?
yeah,
If you've spent years digging yourself in that hole, or if you found yourself in that hole, because I also don't want to say that people put themselves in that state. Absolutely not. Mental health is real. I want to emphasize on this. I do not belittle it, and I do not want to take away from it.
yeah.
But what I want to say is there is a way out. If you put in the right work, and if you're committed to it, there is a way out.
And what would, I mean, does it normally start with some professional help of you seeking out a therapist, maybe a coach, perhaps somebody who's been there, done that? If you're like, I don't know, in addiction, for example, you have a mentor in the 12 steps. So you're saying that where does help usually start for somebody who's stuck? Like if I'm stuck and I don't know what to do.
It starts with acknowledging the problem.
Yeah, but somebody who has
And
already...
then, okay, so you acknowledge the problem,
Yeah,
do the research.
yeah,
There's so many different techniques that that can help you.
yeah,
Do the research and see what resonates more with you. Because for a technique to work on you, you need to believe it. You need to believe in it.
yeah.
It needs to resonate with you. So do your research. Explore all the different options and see what resonates more with you and go with it.
And so if I'm going to be doing, if I'm going to approach all of the types of adversities and problems I have in my life through NLP as one, I'm starting to understand a little bit more how you said NLP is not very different from self-mastery and how they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
When I work with somebody who is an NLP practitioner or a coach, what does that session look like? Are we sitting there like a therapy session? Is this what it's like? Is it the kind of thing where I would tell you what I'm going through and you would tell me how to frame it? Is this what a normal NLP session would feel like? Or
I wouldn't say it would be like therapy because NLP does not go into content. NLP deals with the context. So it's not like a therapy session where you go and talk to your therapist about how you're feeling and you just talk and the therapist is listening.
Yeah.
NLP is the opposite actually. NLP is the practitioner sharing the knowledge with you. You don't need to share the content.
Oh, interesting. So I'm never gonna, sitting with an NLP practitioner, I'm not gonna divulge my life. I'm just gonna.
You don't have to.
Interesting.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can share the context. You can say, I'm feeling this way. Just share the context, the bigger picture. And from there, the NLP practitioner can help you change that feeling, change your state of mind, change your emotional state through different techniques. And obviously, different techniques work with different people. And there's different techniques to achieve different objectives.
Yeah.
So that's how NLP works.
Is there anything that you can give as an example from your own life of, if you're okay to share an example of how you had a certain issue in your life and how NLP helped you deal with it in a way that is an exemplary or an example of how NLP can help people improve their own lives? Is there something that you can draw out of your own experience that you are happy to share on the podcast without divulging?
Let me think. I'm thinking.
We can also remove it after.
No, but I'm thinking.
yeah, take your time.
I'm actually
I actually
thinking.
wanted to ask you something, and of course, this is your husband, one of my high school best friends, has been having a really great few months in his life, I think, recently. We're all working on our different issues that we have, and I've seen a very improved version of Fadi because, we closely talk about our own lives and things we have in common. Anyway, I was wondering to what extent you have had that positive influence on him, having been recently become an NLP practitioner, and how much positivity you think maybe he's even told you that I've been feeling positive because of the impact that you've had on me. Maybe you feel the impact and he hasn't noticed it yet. To what extent do you feel like there is a spillover effect from your own NLP on Fadi having had a great few months on his state of mind. Like, I'm very proud of him, and like, he's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm so proud of him as well. Fadi has been on his own self-development journey, and I'm so proud of him for that. But I would say the person has to want the change in order for the change to happen. And it won't happen when you push for it to happen. It will happen when they are ready. And I've been on this journey for years now, and Fadi obviously has been on this journey with me, and he's witnessed the growth, and he's witnessed the self-development and all that. And so I think that for him to see the effect and the benefits, obviously makes it easier for him to get on that journey as well.
It's contagious in that sense, right?
It is.
Yeah.
Because even like when you're with someone and you start choosing your words also carefully when you're with a person that is being mindful and being conscious with their choice of words every day, even with your partner, then that person starts being conscious with their choice of words in return.
Right, yeah.
Because also in NLP, there is rapport. And when you build rapport, you influence not just the body language of the person in front of you, but also their language.
Yeah, and they start to also be careful about the words they use and their linguistics.
Exactly.
Because you are, so they sort of reciprocate that to some extent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't want to take credit. Absolutely not. But I do believe that he's also on a beautiful self-development journey. And it happened when he was ready.
Right. He's doing his yoga and meditation. I might even follow with him in one of the classes. He goes to yoga, by the way, because I could use some yoga with Fadi.
I'll tell you a
But
funny thing about this.
I'm really proud of him. I mean, yoga,
Yeah.
meditation.
Yeah, I'll tell you a funny story about this. So I did 7 years ago, I did a program called The Rhythm of Life with Guruji Sanjeev. Incredible person, incredible. And so while we're at it, I might as well say that I've been incredibly blessed and fortunate to have masters in this field share their knowledge with me and guide me through my journey. And there's two specific people.
Okay.
Guruji Sanjeev, incredible human being, and his program, Rhythm of Life, amazing life-changing program, and Dr. Afshin, who is actually a medical doctor who 10-15 years ago started her self-development and healing journey for her personal reasons.
Yeah.
She was going through something and she did it for her personal healing and self-growth. And then from when she saw the benefits of it, decided that she no longer wants to heal people with medicine, but she wants to share with them the knowledge that she's gained through NLP or with NLP, share with them the knowledge and to let them heal themselves with that knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So she went from a medical doctor to an NLP practitioner.
Wow.
She doesn't want to, or she no longer wants to treat the disease or treat people with medicine. She wants to treat the source,
Yeah.
the root cause. So yeah, I'm very grateful for them.
Wow. And so where did you meet these coaches, I guess, or mentors? In India?
No, in Dubai.
In Dubai?
Both of them
okay.
in Dubai.
Cool.
But I've done this course with Guruji Sanjeev 7 years ago. And I kept telling Fadi about it. Do it, please do it. He was never convinced, he never did it. This year, Fadi came up to me and said, I want to do this course. So I went with him to Guruji Sanjeev. And I told him, Fadi wants to do the course. Finally, 7 years later, finally, Fadi wants to do the course.
What changed his mind, though?
No, but let me tell you.
Okay.
Guruji looked at me and he said, not finally, my dear. Now is his time. So that's what I wanted to tell you.
Right.
Each person embarks on their journey at their own time.
But really,
when it's the right time for them.
What stimulated it? What triggered it for Fadi?
No idea.
Okay.
He just thought that now he wanted to take that course.
Interesting.
And as he said, Guruji, now was his time.
Fascinating. I do think that sometimes the urgency to act or explore a different approach towards any issue we have comes at us out of nowhere. unplanned, unexpected, unpredictable,
Exactly.
and we just
Exactly.
suddenly it almost these are the times when I go into my conspiracy world and believe somebody's in control of us and we're already in a simulation bus, because like it's weird how nothing changed in my day between yesterday and today, but today I feel more determined to actually do something about my life.
Yeah.
And yesterday, same situation, I was totally complacent. I was asking you earlier, is there a similarity between NLP and the law of attraction?
Yeah. So there is something in common between them. And I'll tell you what it is. NLP says your thoughts create your reality. Okay? The law of attraction says what you put out in the world, you attract. So if you put out positive thoughts, you attract them. Or if you put out negativity into the world, you will also attract it. But I also want to add one more thing, one more addition to that school of thought. God also actually says that. ربنا سبحانه وتعالى بيقول أنا عند ظن عبدي بي إن ظن خيرا فله وإن ظن شرا فله. So God is also saying, I am what you think of me. If you think negative, you'll get it. And if you think positive, you'll get it. So all these things, NLP, law of attraction, and even God agree that what you put out into the world or what you think becomes your reality and you will attract and you will get.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me end that discussion on thought and language with this thing. If you think negative, okay, and if you think you're weak, if you think you're depressed, if you think you're sad, you're anxious, you're stressed, you will get it and it will become your reality. And if you think positive and shift your mindset and shift your mentality and you think positive, I'm strong, I'm physically strong, emotionally strong, mentally strong, I'm healthy, I'm successful, that also you will attract and that will become your reality. So that is the power of language for you.
Yeah. I do have a question though. I've had this conversation with Tariq Masarwe, who is one of my best friends. He is now in Bali. He's also practicing on his journey towards self-mastery. He's doing a bunch of things. I think he's also doing NLP. We've had a discussion several times, him and I, about exactly what you just said right now, about how you need to frame your problem in a way, or your solution, in a way that is not negative in order for you not to attract negative, and that you need to approach whatever you're trying to come at from a positive place in order to actually achieve it in a way that is meaningful and positive. I might be paraphrasing here, but my point is, everything that I've personally done in my life or people around me have done that has determination and perseverance in it seems to have come from a place that is almost negative. It was anxiety, it was urgency, it was fear of missing out. It was, and that led to action, and that action led to results that people were proud of. Now, of course, these feelings can also lead somebody astray and actually create a vicious cycle and a self-fulfilling prophecy too. My question is, how can people get the same amount of ambition and drive to do something if perhaps framing it in a positive context might relax them, might not give them enough drive to get off their asses and do something about it, and they might need a bit more tough love and more. How do you?
Okay.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you that the best or the most intense self-development journeys are fired by negative experiences or for example, experiencing anxiety, a lot of anxiety in your life, or being too stressed or being depressed. That definitely fuels change. Okay, so I completely agree with you that this is actually correct, but I'll tell you how I look at it. In my self-development journey or in the journey of life, there's a lot of ups and downs. If you're not committed to the journey, or if you're not committed to self-growth and self-development, you might get stuck in the downs, get trapped in them. It's like a hole and you're stuck and you're trapped. But when you decide that you want change, you want positive change, that you want to develop, you want growth, you want to heal, these downs become like a rubber band. So I like to call, I don't like to call them downs. I like to call them setbacks. So they like pull you down or pull you backwards for a period of time. But when it's released, it launches you way further ahead in your self healing journey,
Wow.
in your self development journey.
Interesting.
Okay, so that's why I tend to appreciate the downs, the setbacks, these times when like I'm comfortable in where I'm currently at. Okay, you plateau in your self healing journey or your in your self development journey. The downs are actually what motivate you and what encourage you to get back on the horse and reach the next level in your journey, to keep moving forward. So just like a rubber band, it sets you back for a while, but then it launches you way further ahead.
Right. Yeah.
So do not reject the downs. Do not just reframe them. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
Do not neglect. Do not like push them aside and say no, like this didn't happen. No,
Yeah.
it happened.
Maybe turn them into actions, for example,
Exactly.
as opposed to just
Into motivation, into fire in
as
your
opposed
journey.
to sinking in your negative emotions. Turn those negative emotions into an action plan.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
I like that. It's a little bit of a tough love because it doesn't sit there. I mean, empathy is important. It's good to have empathy to yourself and have people around you towards you. It's like when you're feeling down, but this is the distinction I'm trying to arrive at here, is that with empathy, generally what empathy is that if you're feeling a certain way, you're okay. It's okay to feel that, and I think NLP, from what you said earlier, also.
It's absolutely okay to feel that.
But it's important correct me if I'm wrong, but it's important to feel that for as long as you need to, but don't stop there and then just move on feeling the same way tomorrow and then again the next day. So the idea is to feel it to the extent that you need to, because it's normal to have your ups and downs, but there is an emphasis and an imperative on you doing an action about it. What are you going to do about it? Research it if you don't know, right? Like there's gotta be, you can't just sit there seeking empathy for like ever, right, as well. Like I think there's something about, unless I'm mistaken here, or
No, I completely agree. Sometimes it doesn't take a day or two to change that state of mind or to change or to get back up when you're down. Sometimes it takes weeks. Sometimes it takes months.
Yeah.
Sometimes it takes years.
Yeah.
And I've been there. I've done that. Even in my journey, I've been on this journey for 7 years. And even in my journey, there's been a lot of ups and downs.
Earlier, I asked you if you've done NLP. Like, how did NLP help you in anything in specific personally? Is there anything that you could think of?
So the reason I got into this whole journey is because I myself, 7 years ago, I was going through a lot of changes in my life. And back then, I loved control. I hated change. I used to resist change. And I was going through a time of so many changes in my life. I was getting married. I was leaving Dubai, my home of 7 years at the time, leaving my friends, my sister, and moving all the way across the globe to Los Angeles. I was leaving my job, doing a startup in LA.
With your husband?
With my husband. So many different changes. And being myself back then, the person that hated change, and given that there were so many changes happening with me, I myself experienced anxiety for the first time in my life. And back then, 7 years ago, let me tell you, there was no awareness around anxiety. Now there is. Now there's so much awareness on mental health. But back then there was no. So when I was going through it, I didn't even know what it was. No idea that it even existed. Okay?
Anxiety. Or dealing with anxiety. Yeah.
I didn't even know anxiety was a thing. I used to think that, I'm anxious means like I have butterflies like before an exam or something.
Right, yeah.
Didn't know it was actually a thing. Okay? So I myself went through it. And obviously it wasn't easy. For anyone that's ever experienced it, it's not easy. But I vowed to myself back then, that I was going to get myself out of it on my own. And ever since I started and I embarked on my self-development journey.
Wow.
For personal reasons.
Interesting.
And what I realized with all the courses that I took, and NLP obviously, which is a big one of them, is that there is a way out. So that's why when I told you earlier that there is a way out,
Yeah.
I'm saying it from experience.
Right. Yeah.
Because I was in that phase for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I was stuck in it for a very long time,
Yeah.
as in months, maybe a year.
Yeah.
And there is a way out.
Yeah.
When you define yourself by it, you become it. It becomes your reality. But when you disassociate yourself from it, you will get out of it. And I'm not saying it's easy.
Yeah.
It took me years, months. It took a lot of work. It took a big commitment to this journey. But I did come out on the other side completely free of it.
That's amazing.
Completely free of it.
Well, whenever you feel like you're falling off track or you're going back to your old ways or your old perspectives, and how do you get yourself back on track? Because you've done all this work, and maybe as everybody else, we all fall off the wagon.
Yeah.
So what do you do to get yourself back on track?
I completely agree with you. The self-development journey is never a straight line.
Right.
There's a lot of ups and downs, turns, and the journey takes you into so many different directions. But as I said, the downs, in my journey, when I sometimes experience some of like that state again, or fall off the wagon, I let that down fuel me and let me take my journey to the next level. So I never, ever allow it to stay.
Yeah.
Okay? I accept it when it happens. I respect it so much. I don't resist it.
Yeah.
And I don't judge myself for it. Respect it.
Yeah.
I embrace it. I befriend it. I say, I respect that this is happening. But now it's time for me to get back on the horse.
Yeah.
And continue with my journey.
Yeah.
To get back up, pull myself up and pull myself together and continue. And I realized and I noticed that every single time this happened, it took me a step further in my journey.
Yeah.
One level higher.
Yeah. What is it like?
So I don't look at it as a negative thing when it happens.
It's a blessing in disguise almost, right?
It's life.
Yeah.
It's life. Life happens.
But it's an opportunity for growth.
It's an opportunity for growth.
Right. I had a interesting experience at some point 5 years ago. What I've dealt with it for a very long time, where I had intrusive thoughts. It turns out this is a thing. There's an actual term called intrusive thoughts, and it's exactly what it means. It's thoughts that are intrusive. They come at you, and you obsess about them, and then you try to figure them out. You try to control them. You try to find solutions to them. You cope with them, and then when you do that, they come back at you. And they come back harder than they did. And even though you've resolved these thoughts, they come back stronger. And then you resolve them in the same way you resolved them last week. Whatever you might be doing to resolve them, however way you cope with them, you question them, you figure them out, and then you figure them out and then they go away, but they come back next week and the cycle repeats. Then I ended up...
I actually wanted to talk about this, so I'm like surprised you mentioned it, because I wanted to talk about it in a different way, but go on.
I'll tell you. So my example is I used to obsess about those thoughts, and every time I obsess about them, I try to control them and cope with them. And every time I do that, I come up with solutions. And then when I do that, I feel like, okay, now it's done. Now I can move on with my life. They come back. Same thought, same problem that I thought I solved last week. It's back on my head again. How am I thinking about the same problem again? I thought I figured you out. What the fuck are you doing again in my head? And then it turns out this is the dopamine vicious cycle that your brain... I ended up talking to a therapist who I found on YouTube, and he explained to me how by trying to cope with those thoughts and associating yourself with them and connecting your identity to these thoughts, you end up creating a dopamine cycle. Every time you resolve this problem, it comes back at you. Every time your brain is trying to make you happy, so it gives you that problem again to solve, and then what you end up being is in a vicious cycle. And what he basically advised me to do, and it worked like magic, is to accept those emotions and those thoughts. They come at you. They don't feel good. They're not supposed to feel good. You're a human being. These thoughts and the situation that you're describing sucks or it's not supposed to feel good. And that's okay. Let it suck. Don't resolve it. Like, don't try to deal with it. Accept that it sucks, and then, move on. Don't distract yourself. Don't try to like shake your head away from it. Like, just accept that it sucks to have that feeling. Don't try to resolve it. And if you don't resolve it, by not resolving it, it goes away. It doesn't come back.
I love this therapist actually, because it's actually one of the topics that I wanted to discuss today. And it's more or less the same technique that I wanted to mention. So you said that these thoughts kept coming back. You thought you fixed them, but the thoughts kept coming back.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the reason, okay? The technique to solve it is more or less the same as the technique I wanted to share, but the reason might be different. He said it's,
Dopamine cycle.
Yeah, I think it might be something else. And obviously there's many different explanations to why the thoughts kept coming back. I will give you another perspective, and you take whatever you feel might be the closest to what you actually think you were
Resonates.
feeling.
Yeah.
In life, when we resist certain events or when we cling to certain thoughts, they become trapped inside us as blocked energies or as trapped negative emotions. Okay? The way things or life should happen is an event happens and the energy just flows through you. Okay? It comes in and it comes out and you just experience it and let it go.
Right.
But sometimes certain things, certain events, certain thoughts, a specific experience, okay, you cling to it. You overthink it. You overanalyze it. What happens is it doesn't pass through you.
Right.
It gets stuck inside of you as a blocked energy or a trapped negative emotion.
Okay.
What happens is this specific blocked energy or trapped negative emotion becomes like an internal thorn. Why thorn? Because when you touch a thorn, it hurts.
Right.
Right? And these trapped negative emotions, you obviously over time collect so many of them, and they're like, if I want to describe it in a physical way, it's like your body is covered with thorns.
Yeah, like a cactus.
مثلا.
Yeah.
And then life happens and life triggers these thorns. It touches them. So they surface. They come to the surface.
It activates
And
them.
it activates them and you re-experience the pain associated with them or the emotion associated with them. If it was trapped or stored with pain, it will surface with pain. If it was stored with sadness, it will surface with sadness. Whatever emotion it was stored with, it will surface with. Okay? So what do? Every time they come up and they surface, as you said, the thought keeps coming up. What we do is we push it back in. Why?
Like suppressing it, you mean?
Suppressing it. Or we're not really ready to deal with the pain associated with it or the emotion associated with it. So what do we keep doing over and over again? Overanalyze it again.
Coping with it somehow, Like,
No, overanalyze it again, the thought.
Yeah.
Cling to it again. Push it away. I'm not ready to deal with this now. Or this is how I fix it now. Okay? But what you're doing is you're keeping it trapped. You're not releasing it.
It's neither released nor fully suppressed because it's always going to come back.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, I mean, if it's not released, whenever life triggers it, it's going to keep coming back up. It's going to keep surfacing every single time it's triggered.
Yeah.
Okay? Only when you release it, you're free of it.
And so how do you release it?
How do you release it?
Yeah.
You release it only when you are willing to deal with the pain associated with it. Or not pain, with the emotion associated with it. Okay?
Right.
I'll give you an example
As
because you love examples.
I
you
do,
know?
but
Yeah.
the idea is that that I'm going to be fine feeling this negative emotion as opposed to try to protect myself from this negative emotion. Right.
Because as human beings, okay, the thing that we tend to immediately do is protect ourselves from that emotion.
Like from a primal human being way, right?
Absolutely. So when that thought comes up or that emotion comes up, surfaces by life triggering it, we tend to protect ourselves from it. So we rationalize it or reject it or find a solution or overthink it or overanalyze it or push it back in.
It's all the coping
Ignore it.
mechanisms. Coping mechanisms.
It's a normal coping mechanism.
Yeah.
But what you should be doing differently is when life triggers it and it surfaces, this is an opportunity for you to release it.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to face that emotion.
And be fine with it.
And be fine with it.
Yeah.
Okay? I'll give you an example.
But you're not trying to deliberately release it in order to be fine with it. So
You're not releasing it.
You're trying to be okay with
You're
it.
not deleting it. You're releasing
Yeah.
the trapped energy associated with it. You're releasing the negative emotion associated with it.
But the process is that I sit with it and I'm okay with it, and automatically it gets released. Is this what happens? Like
I'll tell you.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. But before I give you an example, if it was stored with pain, it will be released with pain. If it was stored with sadness, it will be released with sadness. If it was stored with anger, released with anger, and so on. I'll give you an example. When I was young, I was bitten, and literally, an ant bit me, a red ant. And I developed fear from ants. But I wouldn't say phobia, because phobias, there's a different, obviously, approach and technique to deal with that. That I'm not experienced with. But there was so many negative emotions associated with that experience for me as a child. And I overthought about it. Why did an ant bit me, and so and so, and it got trapped in me. Obviously, I didn't. It wasn't an experience where like an ant bit me, I brushed it off and moved on with my day.
Yeah.
I really overanalyzed and overthought, and there was, I don't know why, but maybe I was just shocked by how does an ant bite? But anyway. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Seriously.
How old were you?
10, 11, I don't know.
Fine.
But it became a trapped negative emotion for me.
Okay.
And it became an internal thorn. And everyday life triggers and pushes your internal thorns. So anytime I used to see an ant, I used to feel inner disturbance. The same emotion used to surface again. And what do? I don't deal with it. What do?
You cope with it.
I push it back down.
That's
I want to protect myself from that inner disturbance. I want to protect myself from that feeling of unease, dis-ease, whatever. And so I would push it back down, reject it. I would look away. I don't want to look at the ant, okay? So what does that do? Whenever that blocked energy resurfaces or trapped negative emotion resurfaces, what do? Reject it, push it back down, okay? It stays trapped. So every time I see an ant, I feel disturbed.
Right.
Until you decide that it's time for me to release these negative emotions. When do you do that? When you gain that knowledge that there are so many trapped negative emotions inside of us and so many blocked energies, and it's time to release them. Why? Because everyday life is triggering all these thorns, and then you live a life of suffering for no reason. Why? Because of past experiences or past negative emotions and events that caused these negative emotions.
Yeah.
It's time to release them.
Yeah.
Okay? And you can only do that when you're willing to face the emotion associated with it. So, for example, the next time I see an ant, I say, okay, it's time for me to deal with this. It's time for me to release this blocked energy, this negative emotion. You do something called relax and release. Face it. Be willing to face the discomfort. Be willing to face the fear. Okay?
Knowing that there's no danger that's going to come out of it, right?
Even if there's no danger.
No, I'm saying knowing that there's no danger.
You can't logic with the mind.
Yeah.
Ever. You can never logic with the mind. You'll never win.
Right.
Okay? So even if you tell yourself, oh, there's no real danger. If you're scared of ants and you see an ant on you, you'll panic.
Right.
Okay? You cannot logic with the mind.
Yeah. Fair enough.
You'll panic.
Yeah.
So the next time this happens and I see an ant, let's say an ant on me, you do the technique, relax and release. Immediately you take a deep breath and you say it's fine. And see, I'm panicking internally, yeah, and there's a lot of discomfort and fear and all these feelings. But instead of pushing it away and removing it and keep it inside me, I face it.
Wow.
I say it's fine. Feel all these emotions. It's fine to feel them. Feel them. Take a deep breath. Exhale and release. Keep doing it. And then only then can you release this emotion. When you're willing to face that emotion,
Right.
when you're willing to face the pain, the fear, the discomfort. And I just gave you a small example, but everyday life will trigger you.
Yeah.
And you will, if you're conscious, you'll start saying, oh, okay, it's triggering this specific negative emotion. You'll know.
Yeah.
Okay. Sometimes you get a phone call from a specific person and immediately you feel this discomfort or whatever. It's associated with a specific, maybe negative experience for you.
Right.
Or this thought for you keeps resurfacing. Why? Life triggered it. Something happened that caused that thought to keep coming back, right? Face it. Face it. Release it.
Yeah.
Be okay with the pain associated with it.
Yeah.
It might burn. It might not be comfortable, but learn to love it because it's purifying you.
Yeah.
It's releasing all these trapped negative emotions from you.
Yeah. And then if you get used to living with it, it probably doesn't come back anymore as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
When you release it,
When you don't resist
will
it,
when you don't resist it, it will no longer affect you.
Yeah.
So when the thought comes back, it will be a normal thought.
Yeah.
It will no longer cause internal disturbance or disturb your peace.
Yeah, I think the problem is that as human beings, we're always used to the fact that every time we got ourselves out of a situation that was dire or a situation that we didn't like, it was because of some sort of logical process or thought process that happened that came from a natural sense of urgency. And then we realized that we need to activate our brains and engage these thoughts and, acknowledge them in a way that is unhealthy for us, because it turns out that the situations that we have managed to get ourselves out of in the past always were a result of dealing with them. It was not as a result of being fine with the feeling. It was, so unfortunately, life, the jungle that is called life, seems to be the kind of situation, seems to be the kind of setup that we have for ourselves as human beings, where the more it shows you that being in control and resisting your feelings, the more you win and the better your social currency is and all of that.
Yeah.
So it's hard to undo all of this learning and conditioning that we have as kids, and then we grow up to become adults, to apply these kind of ideas of being okay with these feelings and try to not cope with them. Because it turns out when you cope with them when you're younger and so on, like, you actually get out of them.
Yeah.
And so...
I agree with you. It's not easy,
yeah.
but it's doable.
Yeah. And it's proven
It's
to be
doable.
work.
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there anything that you could leave anybody watching or listening with that they could utilize in order to get some quick wins?
Yeah. I think in order for you to achieve anything in life and to start the starting grounds for your self-development journey or your healing journey, the most important thing is being conscious, practicing being conscious and mindful throughout the day, being present. Because we as human beings tend to go through life with minimal consciousness. As I said, our thoughts and our mind drives us. We take the passenger seat and we're just on a rat wheel, literally 24 hours a day. Okay, so you need to practice consciousness.
What does that mean? Spell it out for...
I'll tell you.
Explain to me like I'm 5.
Okay, it's being present. Taking a few moments out of your day and being in stillness, inner stillness. Of course, the best way to achieve that is, for example, through meditation. But it's not easy for a lot of people. So I will give you now, I will explain it first, but then I will give you 3 different ways to achieve that. But being conscious is being aware, being present, being mindful. Okay. When you're not conscious, it's when there's so much mind chatter going on and it's driving you, and you're just drowning within it.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're conscious, when you take the seat of consciousness, it's when you are centered internally and you fall behind the noise. You fall behind the noise of the mind and you witness it.
Yeah.
You start listening.
Yeah.
You become aware of what's happening internally.
So that's the starting point.
That is the absolute starting point.
Right.
Because only then can you start shifting your mentality,
Right.
start shifting your mindset, start choosing the right words, changing your thought process. It all happens from the seat of consciousness. When you are not so caught up in the noise or in the thoughts, when you take a step, one step behind them, and
Right.
you listen to them,
Yeah.
only then can you control them,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? And
Makes sense.
yeah, so I know it's difficult for a lot of people to do that. So I'll give you 3 examples of how you can achieve that in your day.
Okay.
But I want to really emphasize on the importance of doing that. We all lead busy lives, right? We all have a busy life. We're constantly doing things and getting caught up in our life. So take moments throughout your day to experience that. Then it becomes a habit later on. But in the beginning, you need to consciously do it. So, for example, start with 1 minute in your day, especially when you're too busy and you feel that you're overwhelmed. Literally, sit down, doing absolutely nothing. Take a moment, even if just 1 minute to yourself. Do absolutely nothing. Just sit in silence.
Yeah.
Okay? Fall behind the noise of the mind, as I said, and just be a witness. I think, I don't know if is it
Yeah, I
clear?
can hear you. Yeah, you're good.
Okay.
Put your volume down a bit.
Yeah.
Because you asked for it, but I can
Yeah,
hear
yeah,
you.
yeah.
Go on.
That's good. It's good. Okay. So yeah, be a witness of your thoughts. Slow down your mind. Reconnect your mind with your body. Okay. Breathe. That will let you restart your day on the right footstep.
Like a reset point in
A
your
reset.
intraday reset point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can start with literally 1 minute in your day. Or if you want to do more, you can do meditation. You can meditate 10 to 15 minutes a day. And another way to do it, I know this might be off topic, but trust me, it's all related. Another way, that it's a suggestion, or it's personally what I do that might benefit some people who are
Sure.
listening. I experience the stillness throughout the day in my prayer, in my Salah.
Nice.
Yeah,
You pray 5 times a day?
I pray 5 times a day.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah, so not a lot of, actually very few people know that. But I used to pray since a young age. But before I used to do it because I had to. Because Islam says you need to pray 5 times a day. So I said, okay, I want to be a good Muslim. So I used to pray 5 times a day. But when I embarked on my self-development journey, in parallel to it, I embarked on a journey to better understand Islam. Because I didn't want to be a blind Muslim or a blind follower.
Sure, yeah.
So only when I got into this and I started understanding the real benefits of praying, the physical and the mental benefits, did I start actually loving doing it.
Yeah.
And it became like one of my favorite 5 times of the day.
Is when you go to prayer.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Because of understanding the benefits out of it. I've always done it, yeah, because I said I had to.
Now you know the
But
benefits
now
of it.
I know the benefits of it, so I embrace it. I enjoy it. I love it.
Yeah.
So this is just a tip for anyone that also wants to experience stillness throughout the day or take mental breaks and physical breaks throughout the day. This can be one of the ways to achieve it. For example, wudu before you pray. Just washing your hands and these specific body parts you are re-energizing your internal organs and you are re-energizing your mind. Okay? Praying, Salah, uh, uh, every single position, every single posture is not there by coincidence.
Right.
They all have so many mental and physical benefits.
Like a lot of it is yoga, parallels to
Many
yoga.
of it
Yeah.
is similar to yoga. Like, for example, الركوع.
Sure.
When your back is in a straight line with your body, your back is in like a tabletop position.
Right.
You're realigning all the vertebrae of the spine.
Yeah.
You're stretching the spine and the back. For example, sujood, when you put your forehead on the ground, you are being grounded.
Humility.
Exactly, and
Yeah.
being grounded.
Yeah.
You are reconnecting to Mother Earth. Your third eye is touching the ground. So you are grounding yourself and reconnecting to Mother Earth. And your back, the position of your the position of your back, you're stretching your back. Doing salam left and right. This is releasing all the tension from your neck, the tension that you've built up throughout the day. So
it's amazing that you're applying these kind of perspectives on what is a traditional theological practice, because I agree that taking 5 times of your day, no matter if you're religious or not, just to have some gratitude and to physically illustrate that gratitude through the use of words or body movements is incredible. And I think it's unfortunate that the religion in general, whether it's Islam or any other religion, they scare you into doing things, as you said.
absolutely,
But
yeah.
actually, the benefits are incredible. Like if I didn't tell you you're gonna go to hell if you don't do them, and instead I told you, like you got your body, your oxygen, your breathing, your body postures. This is a much more convincing way to entice people to do it rather than telling you.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Because as I said, when I embarked on this journey to better understand Islam, I wanted to do it because I didn't want to follow the as you said, the fearful.
The fear factor, yeah.
The fear factor, you know?
Yeah.
I wanted to actually understand the real meaning behind it and the real benefit. And exactly like once you understand, you tend to do more.
Yeah.
And you tend to do it better.
Yeah.
So-
With conviction too, right?
Exactly. So this is just my way of experiencing stillness throughout the day and reconnecting my mind and my body. It's through my salah, but you can do it in so many different ways.
Right.
Okay.
So you do you mentioned you do this taking a minute where you just do nothing. That's great. That's stillness. Then you do
Yeah.
the prayer, the 5 times.
No, I mean you can do either this or that.
Oh, okay.
So I can say I'm saying you can start with that. For a person that doesn't know how to slow down, a person that's more
Impulsive.
start with a minute.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna tell you meditate for 15 minutes. You're not gonna do that.
And then you crank it up to the potentially 5 times a day.
No,
or-
I'm not saying you have to do that. I'm just saying this is
Right.
a way of doing that,
Sure,
a way
yeah.
of experiencing stillness. There's many different ways.
Right.
Saying taking a minute out of your day every couple of hours is one way. Meditation is another way.
Right.
Praying is another way.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
Okay, praying is another way. So see whatever works for you.
Right.
But I'm saying for people that already pray or for people that were thinking about praying, take advantage of that as your way of experiencing that stillness.
Yeah.
Okay? So instead of rushing through your praying, instead of just doing it because you have to and dragging yourself to the prayer mat and just rushing through it, and no. If you already do it anyway, take it as an opportunity. It's meditation.
Right.
It's stillness. It's reconnecting your mind to your body. And it's reconnecting to your true essence, to your true self. Because I believe God is within each and every one of us.
Right.
So when you connect to your true self, you're also connecting to God, your creator that's within you. So if you already pray, try to experience stillness in your praying. Try to experience meditation in your praying.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that you need to do that to experience
no, I
meditation.
understand.
I'm just saying if you already do it, that, or if you're looking for ways to experience stillness in your day and ways to be conscious,
That's one of them.
That's
Yeah,
one
yeah.
of them.
Makes sense.
Okay, but for someone more impulsive and busy, take 1 minute.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to overwhelm that person and say take 15 minutes. You're not
Wherever
gonna do it.
Wherever you are. Huh?
Absolutely, wherever you are.
Yeah.
Go to the bathroom if you're in a company and you can't do it on your desk because people are gonna
Yeah.
bother you, literally go to the toilet
Yeah. Yeah, if you have to, right?
if you have to.
Yeah, but just a minute of separating yourself from the reality that you're living in.
Exactly. A minute of stillness.
Yeah.
Reconnecting your mind with your body.
And from there, you can actually take it into those other things that you were talking about, which is, being conscious enough to separate yourself from your thoughts.
Exactly.
Then it's about rephrasing and recontextualizing your thoughts.
Exactly.
And then,
Because you can only do all these things from a seat of consciousness.
sure, that's the
How do
foundation.
you, exactly,
Yeah.
how do you practice consciousness? You can start with 1 minute a day,
Yeah.
10 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day, or a few minutes every 2 hours.
Yeah, mindfulness. You need to be able to separate, know that at any point in your life you can just separate yourself from your thoughts, right?
Yeah.
Know that no matter where you are, no matter what's going on, it's in your arsenal. Getting into this habit that knowing that I can use it whenever I want to.
Exactly.
And it's habitual. You
And
need to
then
condition yourself. You need to condition yourself.
And the
for it.
end goal is you start doing them at a subconscious level.
Sure. It becomes
You become conscious
second nature.
subconsciously. You don't need
Sure.
to say, I need to be conscious. It becomes your nature. It becomes a habit.
Second
You
nature,
become
yeah.
mindful throughout your entire day.
Yeah.
You're mindful. Whatever you're doing, you're mindful.
Yeah.
You're conscious when you're doing it.
100%. Amazing stuff, Nour. طيب, let me ask you a question now. Are you at a point in your journey professionally where people can reach out to get a session with you, or learn more about self-mastery, conscious and mindfulness, neurolinguistic programming, NLP? Are you now, are you giving sessions? Are you a practitioner officially? Do you want to share some contact details, like your LinkedIn or something, for anybody to reach out to you? It's up to you.
Currently, I'm not doing it professionally.
Okay.
However, I'm more than happy to help anyone that wants to reach out.
Okay, awesome.
Whether to help them myself or to connect them with the right people.
The coaches that you were talking about earlier, right?
Yeah. So I'm more than happy. If anyone wants to reach out, I'm absolutely more than happy to help in any way.
So Nour Jarrar on LinkedIn?
Or I can give you my email. We can put the email.
Yeah, so for anybody listening, it's... are you on LinkedIn?
I am.
Okay, so Nour Jarrar. Jarrar. Last name. First name is Nour, Nour. Nour, thank you so much for coming.
You're welcome. And I just want to say one last word before we finish. I want to say, if you're listening to this today and you've reached this far, it's for a reason. So I want to tell you one thing. Get out of the passenger seat. Take control of your life today.
Nice. Words of wisdom from Nour Jarrar, everyone. Thank you so much. And that's a wrap.